Hello, everyone. Indeed, a joy to share a few thoughts once again. It's always a blessing to hear from others and also be able to share what God puts in your heart. God is a good God, isn't He? We can go on and on talking about His goodness and faithfulness. Well, I've titled my thought for this day as Tell God as it is, or Being Honest with God. I'm sure most of us have seen the movie Three Idiots, and one repeated scene in the movie is Amir Khan placing his hands on his chest and saying, "All is well, all is well." Now, it's wonderful to be positive and be able to face life positively and believe everything is fine. But sometimes, as Christians, we go through a lot of pain and a lot of hurt deep inside, and we are filled with a lot of questions and doubts. But we suppress or hide these emotions and present an all is well image to the world. And sometimes we often try and do this to an all knowing God too. If I tell God my doubts, does it mean I don't trust Him? If I bring my questions before Him, does it speak about my faith? Can I tell God as it is? These are questions that sometimes burn within us. The reality in life is we will all face difficulties. We all have hard seasons, and that's part of the human experience. And as Christians, we are not exempt from difficulties and hard seasons. And for many Christians, these seasons can cause us to start questioning God. Why is God letting this happen? When will things get better? Does God really care about me? Why is a good God allowing such pain? Is there even a God? I found that while these questions are common, they often bring about guilt. And many Christians feel that questioning God reveals a lack of faith. And they feel rather than doubt and question God, we should just shut up and trust Him. The Bible is full of people who brought their questions to God. And what's incredible is the Bible doesn't hide their questions, but rather highlights them. How long, O Lord? Why, Lord? Where are you, Lord? The Bible is full of such questions that God's people brought before Him. And maybe you are someone today struggling with a lot of questions and doubts. So here are three things that might encourage you. Number one, don't hide your questions. When we bury our questions and pretend they don't exist, it can hinder our relationship with God. But when we bring them into the open, we can grow in our faith and experience closeness with Him. Bring out your questions, share them with God. He wants your heart and whatever is in it. So give it to Him. I think the Psalms are the perfect place to turn for this. David continually asks God questions about whatever he is struggling with. It's a great model for us to follow. Number two, don't be ashamed of your questions. A lot of Christians get hard on themselves because they are questioning God. They are ashamed to admit they have questions because they feel it talks about their weak faith. We are finite beings trying to understand God and His ways. And of course, we are going to struggle to understand. We don't need to be ashamed of our questions. It's often through our questioning that our faith and trust in God is built. And number three, recognize that your questions can produce something of value. Bring your questions to God. And bringing your questions to God shows that you're engaging with and thinking about important things. When we ignore the questions, we are missing an important time to turn to God and grow. The times I've grown the most in my life and faith are when I've asked hard questions, uncomfortable questions. It's not always easy, but the result has always been worth it. When you bring your questions to God, it can produce something of value in your life. It can grow your faith. God can handle your emotions. After all, He gave them to you. He can handle your anger, doubt, fear, questions, grief, and even your complaints. Be honest. Tell it to God. Get it off your shoulders. Spill your guts. Tell God exactly how you feel. God, I hurt. This is exactly what Job did. And God isn't surprised when you say, God, I don't like this. I don't understand this. It hurts. Who do you think created those emotions? Who do you think gave you the capacity to get angry and express those feelings? God did. God is not surprised by your emotional state. Job questioned God's actions, but he never stopped trusting God. Did you know that trusting God with your feelings is an act of worship? Job 1 in verse 20 says, Job stood up, tore his robe in grief, and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground and worshipped. Go ahead. Express all your feelings. Release your frustrations. God can handle it. Are you willing to come before God today and say, Lord, all is not well. Here's my envy. Here's my doubt. Here's my frustration. Lord, I give them to you. God invites us to open our souls, to lift up our hearts and our hands, praying honestly and confidently, holding nothing back. I hope this encourages you.